There are angels in the Imperium of man, but they bleed just like everything else. The difference is what happens when that blood starts to sing. My name is Brother Castiel of the Blood Angels, 3rd Company, and for 217 years I have been the Emperor's perfected weapon. When I look in the polished surface of my ceramite pauldron, I see what humanity could be: enhanced, immortal, beautiful even in war. The gene seed of Sanguinius flows through my veins, gift of our Primarch who fell defending Terra 10,000 years ago. We are his sons. We are supposed to be incorruptible. They lied to us about that part. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you want to understand how a blood angel falls, you need to see what we are first. You need to witness the facade before it cracks. So let me take you back to Armageddon Secundus, 3 months before everything changed, before I learned what corruption truly meant. If you crave more tales from the Dark Millennium, hit that subscribe button. The Emperor protects those who support the channel, and you'll want to hear how this ends. The orc horde stretched to the horizon, a green tide of Xenos filth that had swept across 4 hive cities in as many weeks. Our strike cruiser, Sanguine Martyr, had translated from the warp 2 days prior, and now 20 of us stood in the upper spires of High Volcanus, preparing for the Angels' descent that would break their advance. I remember checking my war gear with practiced precision. Boat pistol loaded with blessed Godwin pattern rounds, chain sword's teeth singing their mechanical hymn. The red of my armor caught the dying sunlight, arterial red, the color of nobility and sacrifice. My squad stood in perfect formation, each a masterwork of the Emperor's vision. Brother Dante adjusted his jump pack's thrust vectoring. Brother Lucian murmured the litany of hate. We were art preparing to become violence. Contact in 30 seconds. Sergeant Raphael's voice crackled through the vox. Remember, brothers, we are the Angel's blade. Precision, fury, grace. Grace, that word mattered to us more than other chapters understood. The Space Wolves fought with savage efficiency, the Ultramarines with tactical perfection, but we Blood Angels brought something else to war. An artistry of violence that made even slaughter beautiful. It was our gift, our curse, the legacy of Sanguinius. The jump packs ignited. 15 tons of ceramite and enhanced flesh launched from the spire's edge, arcing through smoke-choked air toward the orc vanguard below. The wind screamed past my helmet. My hearts, both of them, beat in perfect synchronization, pumping blood enriched with the Primarch's genetic legacy. This was what I was made for, this moment of perfection before impact. We hit the orc lines like the Emperor's wrath given form. My chainsword carved through an orc knob's torso, the blade's teeth spraying green ichor in a precise arc. Boat rounds punched through Xenos skulls with devastating accuracy. Around me, my brothers moved like dancers, each strike calculated, every kill efficient. We weren't just fighting, we were performing a symphony of death, and the orcs were dying to its rhythm. An orc warboss charged me, power claw crackling with crude energy. I sidestepped with enhanced reflexes, my chainsword opening its throat. It gurgled and fell. Too easy, too slow. We were superior in every measurable way. But then I tasted it. The orc's blood had sprayed across my helmet's respirator grill, and somehow, impossibly, a single drop had found its way past the seals. It touched my tongue, and everything changed. The blood sang to me, not metaphorically, actually sang, a chorus of sensation that made my gene-enhanced physiology scream with sudden, terrible hunger. The orc's blood tasted like violence, like the joy of the kill distilled into liquid form. My vision sharpened, my muscles surged with new strength, and somewhere deep in my mind, something ancient and hungry opened one eye. "Brother Castiel, advance!" Sergeant Raphael's command cut through my moment of, what, ecstasy? Horror? I couldn't tell anymore. I pushed forward, killing with renewed vigor. My chainsword found throats with disturbing enthusiasm. Each spray of Xenos blood made the hunger grow. By the time we'd cleared the district, 17 orcs lay dead by my hand alone. My armor was drenched in their gore, and I wanted more. That night in the Sanguine Martyr's Reclusium, I knelt before the statue of Sanguinius and tried to pray, tried to understand what had awakened in me. The chapter's chaplain spoke of the red thirst, the curse that made us crave blood, the flaw in our gene seed that we spent lifetimes controlling. Every blood angel faced it, managed it, overcame it. But this felt different. This felt like something had recognized me, called to me, promised me things that the Emperor's light could never offer. I didn't report it. That was my first mistake. In the silence of my meditation, with the taste of orc blood still phantom present on my tongue, I made a choice that would damn me. I wanted to taste it again. The Ghoul Stars campaign came 6 weeks later, and that's where the red thirst stopped being something I could ignore. We'd been deployed to investigate a distress signal from the mining world of Calth's Shadow, a frozen hell of a planet where 16,000 souls extracted promethium from beneath kilometers of permafrost. The signal had cut off mid-transmission, replaced by static and what our ship's tech priests described as rhythmic interference of unknown origin. Sergeant Raphael called it what it was: bad news wrapped in worse omens. Our Thunderhawk punched through the planet's atmosphere into a blizzard that reduced visibility to 30 meters. Ice crystals hammered against the gunship's hull like gunfire. Through the viewport, I could see nothing but white, and then suddenly, the mining facility's towers emerging from the storm like black teeth. "Something killed the Vox array," Brother Dante observed, his Auspex scanner painting red warnings across his visor display. "Multiple heat signatures inside the main hab block. Could be survivors." Could be. In the 41st millennium, could be usually meant definitely isn't. We deployed into knee-deep snow, bolters raised, moving in textbook formation toward the facility's main entrance. The doors hung open, frozen blood crusted across the threshold. My auto-senses analyzed it immediately. Human, approximately 9 days old, flash frozen moments after exsanguination. The hunger stirred. I forced it down, reciting the litany of purity as we advanced into the hab block's corridors. Emergency lighting cast everything in red, fitting given what we found. Bodies everywhere. Miners, administratum clerks, even children. All drained of blood with surgical precision. The wounds on their throats were identical. 2 punctures, perfectly spaced. "Emperor's mercy," Brother Lucian whispered. "What did this?" I knew. The part of me that had awakened on Armageddon Secundus recognized the work immediately. But I said nothing as we pushed deeper into the facility, following the trail of corpses toward the central processing plant. That's where we found them. They'd been human once, maybe days ago, maybe hours. Time moved strangely in the presence of chaos corruption. Now they were something else. Their skin had taken on a waxy pallor, stretched too tight over bones that bent at wrong angles. Their eyes reflected our suit lights like animals, and their mouths, Emperor, their mouths, opened to reveal fangs that wept with black venom. "Contact!" Sergeant Raphael's bolt pistol roared, blowing the nearest creature's head apart. "Plague zombies! Standard purge protocol!" But they weren't plague zombies. They moved too fast, too deliberately. One of them launched itself at Brother Dante with impossible speed, claws raking across his ceramite chestplate hard enough to score the armor. He drove his combat knife through its sternum, but it kept fighting even as he twisted the blade, kept trying to reach his throat. They wanted blood. My squad unleashed hell. Bolt rounds tore through corrupted flesh, chainswords carved through bone. We were blood angels. We'd faced worse than this and emerged victorious. But there were dozens of them, pouring from ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels, driven by the same hunger I'd been fighting for weeks. One of them tackled me, superhuman strength barely contained by my power armor. Its fangs scraped against my helmet's faceplate, black venom sizzling where it touched ceramite. I could smell its breath, rotting meat and something else, something familiar. I punched through its ribcage and ripped out its heart. And then, Emperor, forgive me, I brought it close to my helmet's respirator grill, just to smell it, just to feel that chorus of sensation again. "Castiel, on your six!" Brother Lucian's warning came too late. Another creature slammed into me from behind, its claws finding the gap between my backpack and armor collar. I felt ceramite crack, felt pressure seals breach, felt its venom enter my bloodstream. The world exploded into sensation. Every nerve ending fired at once. The red thirst surged through me like a tidal wave, drowning every meditation exercise, every prayer, every mental discipline I'd spent 2 centuries building. The creature's corrupted blood mixed with mine, and somewhere in that chemical wedding, something fundamental changed. I tore the creature apart with my bare hands, not surgically, not with a blood angel's practiced grace. I ripped and tore and fed on the violence itself, my gene seed howling with joy at the slaughter. When Brother Lucian pulled me off the corpse, I was drenched in black ichor and my own blood, and I was laughing. "Brother!" His voice was distant, concerned. "Castiel, are you wounded?" "I'm fine," I lied. The venom was already working through my system, and my Laraman cells, designed to clot wounds instantly, were failing to purge it. "Seal breached, but my Susan membrane compensated. I'm combat effective." The look he gave me suggested he didn't believe that. But we had 16 more hostiles to purge, and Blood Angels didn't leave missions incomplete. We cleared the facility within an hour. Every corrupted human burned in holy promethium. The mining world was declared purditus and scheduled for exterminatus, standard procedure for chaos taint. But back aboard the Sanguine Martyr, in the medical bay where our apothecary examined my wound, I saw something in his expression that terrified me more than any Xenos or heretic ever could. "The venom should have killed you," Apothecary Marius said quietly, his narthecium scanner painting readouts across my exposed skin. "Your gene seed should have rejected it, triggered a coma state until we could purge it. Instead, your body accepted it, metabolized it. Brother Castiel, what did you feel when you were infected?" I could have told him the truth, could have confessed the hunger, the joy, the sense of finally becoming what I was meant to be. "Pain," I said. "Just pain, brother." He didn't believe me either, but he sealed my wound and marked me for observation, and I returned to my cell knowing that the crack had widened into a chasm. The venom was still in me, growing stronger, and the worst part, I didn't want it gone. The red thirst consumed me slowly, like ice melting in reverse, crystallizing outward from my core until everything I'd been became something else. It started with the dreams. Every time I entered sus-an membrane sleep, I saw him. Not the Emperor, not Sanguinius in his golden glory. I saw our Primarch as he must have been in his final moments on the vengeful spirit, wings broken, blood streaming from 1,000 wounds, beautiful even in death. But in my dreams, he didn't die for the Emperor. He rose. He fed. And his eyes, when they met mine across 10,000 years of history, promised me the same apotheosis. I woke screaming, both hearts hammering, my gene seeds singing with terrible joy. Chaplain Castiel, Chaplain Erasmus stood in my cell doorway, his skull-faced helmet catching the red emergency lighting. "You've been summoned to the Reclusium. Apothecary Marius has concerns." Of course he did. I'd killed 43 enemies in our last engagement on the agri-world of Talarn's Reach, 17 more than any other battle brother. I'd moved through the heretic cultists like a storm of blades, and I'd enjoyed every moment. Not the righteous fury of the Emperor's champion, the pure chemical ecstasy of violence itself. The walk to the Reclusium felt like marching to my execution. Other blood angels stepped aside as I passed, their enhanced senses picking up something wrong even if they couldn't name it. Brother Dante, who'd fought beside me for 60 years, actually backed away when I met his eyes. They knew. On some level, they all knew. The Reclusium's meditation chamber was empty, except for Apothecary Marius and Chaplain Erasmus. Between them stood a chair equipped with neural probes and blood analysis equipment. I'd seen it before. We all had. It was where they tested brothers suspected of succumbing to the Black Rage, the other curse that haunted our chapter. The madness that made blood angels believe they were Sanguinius himself, reliving his death in an endless loop of psychotic fury. "Sit," Chaplain Erasmus commanded. I obeyed. What else could I do? The neural probes slid into connection ports along my armor's collar, cold metal against enhanced skin. Apothecary Marius drew blood with practiced efficiency, his narthecium humming as it analyzed my gene seed. "Your kill ratio has increased 47% over the last 2 months. Your post-battle hymns to the Emperor have become irregular, and 3 battle brothers have reported that you lingered over enemy corpses longer than tactical necessity required." "I serve the chapter with distinction," I said carefully. "Your loyalty is not in question," Marius interrupted, his ancient face grave. "Your humanity is." The neural probes activated, sending diagnostic pulses through my brain. I felt them mapping my thoughts, measuring my deviations from baseline blood angel psychology. The equipment was old, blessed by Mars itself, designed to detect the spiritual corruption that preceded physical mutation. It should have found the taint immediately. the venom from Khal's shadow, the hunger that had been growing like a tumor in my soul. Instead, the readouts came back clean. "Impossible," Marius breathed, studying the data slate. "Brother Castiel, your gene seed shows elevated aggression markers and increased adrenaline production, but nothing outside acceptable parameters. The red thirst is controlled, better controlled than most brothers, actually." Chaplain Erasmus leaned closer, and I could feel his suspicion like radiation. "The machine says you're clean, brother, but machines can be deceived. So I ask you now, before the Emperor's sight, have you felt any unusual urges, any whispers in the dark, any promises from things that should not speak?" This was my moment, my last chance to confess, to seek redemption, to let my brothers help me before I fell too far. But the words formed on my tongue. Yes, I'm losing control. Something is changing me from the inside. But then the hunger stirred, and with it came a terrible clarity. If I confessed, they would kill me, not out of cruelty, but out of mercy. They would give me the Emperor's peace, a bolt round through the brain, and everything I was would end in service to a corpse god who'd been dead for 10,000 years. Or I could lie. I could hide the corruption just a little longer, learn to master it, become something more than just another failed angel. "No, Chaplain," I said, and my voice didn't waver. "I serve the Emperor and Sanguinius, nothing more." He studied me for a long moment, and I knew he didn't believe me. But the machines said I was clean, and without evidence, even a chaplain couldn't condemn a battle brother. "Very well," he said finally, "but you will report to me weekly for spiritual counsel, and Brother Lucian will be assigned as your combat partner for tactical redundancy." We both understood. Lucian would be my warden, my witness, and if I fell, he would be my executioner. Still with us in the darkness? Hit that like button if this tale chills your soul. The descent is far from over. They released me back to my cell, and I spent the next 3 hours in meditation that felt like mockery. Every prayer to the Emperor rang hollow. Every invocation of Sanguinius' sacrifice felt like blasphemy. The red thirst had evolved beyond simple bloodlust into something more insidious, a voice that spoke in my own thoughts, wearing my own reasoning like a mask. It fears you because you're becoming what they pretend to be. Perfect, uncompromising, a true predator instead of a domesticated weapon. I wanted to reject it, wanted to believe I was still Brother Castiel, loyal son of Sanguinius, servant of the Emperor. But when I looked at my hands, hands that had killed for 2 centuries in the Imperium's name, I couldn't remember why that loyalty had ever mattered. The Emperor was dead. Sanguinius was dead. The Imperium was a rotting corpse held together by lies and faith in something that would never answer prayers. Only the hunger was real. Only the blood was honest. The mission to Kairos Prime came 3 weeks later, and that's where everything finally broke. We were hunting a word-bearer's warband that had corrupted an entire planetary defense force. 16,000 soldiers turned traitor overnight, their loyalty to the Emperor replaced by devotion to the ruinous powers. It should have been a standard purge. Locate the Chaos Space Marines leading them, eliminate the leadership,
and watch the mortal forces collapse. But when we engaged the word-bearers in the ruins of Kyrus Prime's capital cathedral, I saw something that changed everything. Their dark apostle was magnificent. Where we blood angels pretended to perfection, he embodied it. His armor was fused with his flesh, demonic sigils carved into muscle and bone. When he spoke, reality bent around his words, and when he looked at me, really looked past my armor and my gene seed to the corruption festering in my soul, he smiled. "Brother," he called across the battlefield, his voice like velvet over broken glass. "Why do you fight for corpses when you could feast among gods?" Brother Lucian fired at him. Bolt rounds exploded against a shield of warp energy. "Don't listen, Castiel. He speaks only lies." But the dark apostle's words wrapped around my mind like silk chains. "You already know the truth. The red thirst isn't a curse, it's the key. Sanguinius wasn't the Emperor's angel.
He was meant to ascend beyond humanity, and his sons inherit that potential. Stop fighting what you are. Embrace it." My chainsword found a cultist's neck. My bolt pistol punched through a traitor guardsman's chest. I was killing efficiently, perfectly, exactly as I'd been trained. And I was empty. 217 years of service. Thousands of enemies slain in the Emperor's name. Countless battles, endless war, eternal vigilance against the dark. For what? To die eventually on some forgotten world, my gene seed harvested to create another weapon, the cycle continuing forever? Or I could choose something else. The Dark Apostle extended his hand across the battlefield, and I felt the offer in my blood. Power, truth, freedom from the chains of false loyalty. Everything the Imperium had denied me, wrapped in chaos's terrible honesty. Brother Lucian grabbed my shoulder. "Castiel, we need to fall back. The word-bearers are summoning something." I turned and looked at him. My brother, my warden, my friend for 60 years. And I felt nothing but hunger. I killed Brother Lucian with my combat knife, driving it up through the soft seal beneath his helmet before he could react. His eyes went wide behind his visor. Not with pain. We blood angels were built to endure pain. With betrayal. With the understanding that everything he'd believed about me, every doubt he'd suppressed out of brotherhood, had been justified. Castiel, his voice gurgled through ruptured vocoder systems. "Why?" Because the hunger demanded it. Because his blood sang sweeter than any Xenos filth. Because in that moment of ultimate transgression, I finally felt alive instead of just functional. I didn't say any of that. I just held him as his secondary heart gave out, as the Laraman cells failed to seal a wound inflicted by a brother's blade. When he stopped moving, I let him fall and turned to face my squad. Brother Dante had already raised his bolter. "Traitor!" The word should have burned, should have filled me with shame. Instead, it felt like liberation. Sergeant Raphael's voice crackled through the vox, thick with grief and rage. "Brother Castiel, stand down! This is the Thirst speaking! We can help you! We can—" "Help me?" I laughed, and the sound was wrong even to my own ears. "You want to help me back into chains? Back into pretending we're angels when we're just monsters with better marketing?"
I moved before he could respond. 2 centuries of combat training, of brotherhood and tactical coordination, now weaponized against my own squad. I knew exactly how they'd react, where they'd position, their firing patterns and combat doctrines. They'd trained me too well. My bolt pistol took Brother Dante in the throat, exploiting the half-second gap in his armor as he raised his own weapon. Sergeant Raphael's chainsword met mine, teeth screaming against teeth, and I drove my forehead into his faceplate hard enough to crack ceramic. He staggered, and I opened his primary heart with surgical precision. 3 blood angels dead by my hand in 30 seconds. My brothers, my family. The hunger sang with joy. Enough! The Dark Apostle's voice thundered across the battlefield, empowered by warp energies that made reality shudder. The cultists and traitor guardsmen ceased fighting, creating a circle of sudden, terrible silence around us. The initiate has proven himself. Let him come. I walked through that circle, past the bodies of my brothers toward the word-bearer's position. Each step felt like shedding weight I didn't know I was carrying. The loyalty oaths, the prayer rituals, the endless meditation exercises meant to control what should never have been controlled in the first place. The Dark Apostle studied me with eyes that held 10,000 years of corruption. His armor was inscribed with blasphemies that hurt to read, demonic faces leering from every surface. When he spoke, I heard harmonics that existed outside normal sound, the languages of the warp itself. Brother Castiel of the Blood Angels' 3rd Company, you have tasted truth. You have rejected the false emperor's chains. But the path to ascension requires more than simple betrayal. It requires commitment. He gestured, and 2 of his word-bearers dragged forward a prisoner. My remaining squad mate, Brother Augustus, who'd been separated from us during the initial engagement. They'd stripped his armor, leaving him in his black carapace body glove, enhanced muscle, still magnificent even without ceramic protection. His face was bloodied but defiant. Castiel, I knew there was something wrong with you. Should have reported it to the chaplains months ago. The Dark Apostle offered me a blade, not a combat knife, something older, inscribed with runes that predated the Imperium itself. A ritual weapon, blessed or cursed by powers that answered prayers the Emperor never would. Kill him, the Dark Apostle commanded. Not in combat, not in the heat of battle where you might claim the red thirst drove you. Kill him slowly, deliberately. Make him suffer. Prove that you choose this path with full understanding of what you're becoming. Augustus met my eyes, and I saw his training warring against his emotion. He was ready to die. We all were. That's what it meant to be a Space Marine. Death in service was expected, welcomed even. But death at a brother's hands? Torture inflicted by one who sworn the same oaths? That was damnation neither of us had been prepared for. Do it, Augustus said quietly. Get it over with, traitor. The Emperor will judge us both. I took the blade. Its handle was warm, pulsing with something that might have been life. The runes crawled across my vision like insects, whispering promises in languages I shouldn't understand, but somehow did. This was the moment. The absolute point of no return. If I killed Augustus like this, slowly and deliberately, I wouldn't just be a blood angel who'd succumbed to the red thirst. I'd be something the Imperium didn't have a name for. something that had chosen corruption with open eyes. The blade pressed against Augustus's throat. He didn't flinch. The Emperor protects. And I carved him apart piece by piece, while the Dark Apostle instructed me in the proper rituals, and the warp itself leaned close to watch. I won't describe what I did. Some blasphemies should not be given words. But when it was done, when Augustus's screams finally faded into blessed silence, I was no longer Brother Castiel of the Blood Angels' 3rd Company. I was something new, something hungry, something that had seen the truth beneath the Imperium's lies and chosen the honest darkness over comfortable delusion. The Dark Apostle placed his hand on my blood-soaked shoulder. "Welcome, brother, to the true ascension. The Blood God has noticed you. Khorne himself smiles upon warriors who embrace what they are without flinching." Khorne, the god of blood and slaughter, one of the 4 ruinous powers that the Imperium spent lifetimes fighting. I should have recoiled, should have recognized the corruption for what it was. Instead, I felt completed, like a weapon finally understanding its purpose. What happens now? My voice was different, rougher, hungrier. Now, the Dark Apostle smiled, revealing teeth filed to points. Your gene seed is already corrupted, has been since Cult's shadow, though you didn't understand it. The venom didn't try to kill you. It was a gift from the Plague God, testing your worthiness, and you passed.
He gestured, and his word-bearers brought forth something that made my remaining sanity scream. A sarcophagus, ancient, covered in the 8-pointed star of chaos undivided. Its surface writhed with demonic faces that seemed almost alive. Inside, the Dark Apostle continued, is transformation. You'll enter as a fallen blood angel. You'll emerge as something greater, a chaos space marine in truth. Your gene seed fused with warp corruption, your soul marked by the gods themselves. But I warn you, not all survive the process. Many go mad, others simply unmake themselves. The tension builds. Subscribe to witness more tales from the Dark Millennium if you dare see where this falls. I looked at the sarcophagus, at the demonic faces that promised power and damnation in equal measure. Then I looked back at the cathedral ruins where my brothers' bodies lay cooling in their crimson armor. Brother Lucian, who'd tried to save me. Sergeant Raphael, who'd led me through 100 battles. Brother Dante, who'd celebrated his centennial of service beside me. Brother Augustus, who died screaming because I'd wanted to prove my commitment to corruption. 4 blood angels dead. 4 brothers betrayed. 4 pieces of my soul that could never be reclaimed. The smart thing would be to refuse, to accept that I'd fallen too far, take the Emperor's piece from my own bolt pistol and hope for mercy and whatever came after death. But I was so tired of being smart, so exhausted from 2 centuries of control and discipline and pretending that righteousness filled the void where honest feelings should be. I climbed into the sarcophagus. The last thing I saw before the lid sealed over me was the Dark Apostle's smile and the stars above Kairos Prime burning with colors that shouldn't exist. Then the pain began, and I started screaming, and somewhere in the warp, something ancient and terrible laughed with joy. I died in that sarcophagus. Everything that had been Brother Castiel, The oaths, the discipline, the careful control burned away in warp fire that existed beyond physical sensation. My gene seed, Sanguinius's gift, corrupted and reforged into something that would have made our Primarch weep. My two hearts stopped, restarted, stopped again, each cycle pumping blood that grew thicker, darker, sweeter with power that came from gods who actually answered. Time meant nothing in that darkness. I might have been there for minutes or millennia. I experienced my own death 1,000 ways, each one a possibility, a path I could have taken. I saw myself dying loyally on a dozen worlds, gene seed harvested, another weapon forged. I saw the black rage taking me, lost in Sanguinius's final moments forever. I saw noble deaths and meaningless ones, each a variation on the same theme: service without reward, sacrifice without recognition, endless war for an emperor who'd been dead for 10,000 years. Then I saw what I could become instead. The vision hit me like a battle barge at full thrust. I saw myself in armor that wept blood from every join, demonic faces screaming from the ceramitite itself. I saw a warband of fallen angels following me, each one freed from the Imperium's chains. I saw worlds burning not for the Emperor's glory, but for the simple, honest joy of destruction. No righteousness, no pretense, just power wielded by those strong enough to claim it. And I saw the blood god himself, or perhaps just an echo of his attention, regarding me with something that might have been approval. "You understand now," a voice thundered through my dissolving consciousness. "There is no redemption, no salvation, only strength and the will to use it. You were born to kill. Everything else was lies to make you palatable to lesser beings. Be what you were always meant to be." The sarcophagus opened. I emerged reborn into a reality that tasted different, sharper, more honest. My armor had changed, the red now deeper, almost black in places where warp corruption had fused ceramitite with demon flesh. The Blood Angel iconography remained, but twisted, mocking. Sanguinius's wings on my pauldron now dripped with gore that never dried. The Dark Apostle stood waiting, and this time I understood what I saw in his ancient eyes. Not madness, clarity. He'd walked this path 10,000 years ago, when the Imperium was young, when Horus had shown his sons the truth about their father's lies. He'd chosen damnation with open eyes, just as I had. "How do you feel, brother?" he asked. I took inventory. My gene seed still sang with Sanguinius's legacy, but the song had changed key into something predatory and cruel. My enhanced physiology remained intact. 3 lungs, 2 hearts, neuroglottis, all of it, but improved, corrupted. The Laraman cells now clotted wounds with demonic efficiency. My blood had become a weapon in itself, acidic and infectious. The red thirst was still there, but I no longer fought it. We'd become one thing, inseparable, a perfect fusion of space marine discipline and chaotic hunger. "Powerful," I said, and my voice resonated with harmonics that shouldn't exist in real space. "Freed." "Good," the Dark Apostle gestured toward the ruins of Kairos Prime's capital. "Then prove it. Your former brothers will have called for reinforcements by now. More Blood Angels are coming, 2 companies at least, and they'll be hunting specifically for you. The chapter doesn't tolerate traitors. They'll want to erase you completely, recover your gene seed for study, make sure no record remains of Brother Castiel's fall." He was right. I could feel it through the corrupted connection I still maintained to my chapter's gene legacy. Somewhere in orbit,
The sanguine martyr was preparing drop pods. My former brothers were donning their crimson armor, loading blessed ammunition, reciting litanies of hate with my name at the center. They were coming to kill me, to erase their shame. Let them come, I said, and meant it. They taught me everything they know, every doctrine, every tactic, every weakness in Blood Angel combat methodology. They made me the perfect weapon. I smiled, feeling fangs that were longer than they should be. They just never considered I might turn that perfection against them. The word-bearers laughed, a sound like funeral bells cast in brass. Around us, the corrupted planet defense forces knelt in worship, not to the Emperor's corpse light, but to the raw, honest power of the ruling powers. 16,000 soldiers who'd seen through the Imperium's lies and chosen to serve something that actually rewarded devotion. I was one of them now. Not a Blood Angel, not even a Chaos Space Marine in the traditional sense. Something between and beyond, a bridge between the Imperium I'd served and the damnation I'd chosen. A warning of what happens when the Emperor's finest realized they'd been lied to. Over the next 3 days, I prepared for my former brother's arrival. The Dark Apostle taught me rudimentary warpcraft, nothing sophisticated, but enough to hide my presence from their Auspex scans. The cultists rigged the cathedral ruins with traps and ambush positions. We turned Kairos Prime's capital into a killing ground designed specifically to counter Blood Angel tactics. But the real trap was simpler than any physical preparation. It was me, what I represented, the doubt I would plant just by existing. When the Blood Angels finally arrived, 5th Company under Captain Alessio, warriors I'd trained beside for decades, I let them find me standing in the cathedral ruins wearing my corrupted armor. Let them see what their brother had become. Let them understand that the Red Thirst wasn't just something to manage and control.
It was evolution waiting to happen. Captain Alessio removed his helmet, his perfect features twisted with grief and rage. "Castiel! Brother! What have you done?" "I've stopped pretending, stopped fighting what we are. You feel it too, don't you? The hunger, the way the Emperor's light grows dimmer each year while the thirst grows stronger. We're not his angels, Alessio. We never were. We're Sanguinius's curse, and our Primarch died serving a tyrant who saw him as just another weapon." "Lies!" But his voice wavered, just slightly, just enough. "Then why can you taste my blood from 30 meters away?" I asked softly. "Why does your gene seed sing at the sight of mine? We're the same, brother. You just haven't admitted it yet." I saw the doubt flicker across his face, saw other Blood Angels in his company shift uncomfortably. The Red Thirst was their constant companion, their endless struggle. And here I stood, proof that the struggle could end, that they could embrace what they'd spent lifetimes fighting. Some of them would remain loyal, most even. The Imperium's indoctrination ran deep, and faith was a powerful chain. But not all. Never all. "Kill him," Captain Alessio ordered, his voice breaking. "Purge the traitor. Recover his gene seed for examination. Let none speak of this day." The battle was brief and brutal. I killed 3 Blood Angels before the Word-Bearer's ambush triggered, and in the chaos that followed, I escaped into Kairos Prime's frozen wastes. Behind me,
The cathedral burned with warped fire that wouldn't extinguish. Before me lay a galaxy of endless war, now fought for gods who actually answered prayers. I am no longer Brother Castiel of the Blood Angels' Third Company. I am the thing they fear most, proof that their control is an illusion, that the red thirst isn't a curse to overcome, but a gift to embrace. That perfection, when you strip away the Imperium's lies, looks a lot like damnation. Somewhere in the warp, the Blood God watches. Somewhere in the Eye of Terror, other fallen angels wait. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Imperium's finest weapons are learning that they were never meant to be heroes. They were meant to be monsters. And monsters, when you free them from their chains, do what monsters do best. They hunt. The Imperium teaches that corruption is external, something that attacks from outside, that must be fought and rejected. They're wrong. The deepest corruption comes from within, from the contradictions we're built upon. The Blood Angels are living proof of it. We carry our Primarch's nobility and his curse in equal measure, and the Imperium demands we embrace one while denying the other. But you cannot divide a soul in half forever. Brother Castiel's fall wasn't a failure of faith or discipline. It was inevitable. Every Blood Angel walks the same edge, maintaining the same impossible balance. Some last centuries, some only decades, but eventually the red thirst wins, always. The chapter simply calls it different names: the Black Rage, combat fatigue, martyrdom in battle, anything except what it truly is: evolution, transformation, the curse becoming ascension. The Blood Angels will hunt me. They'll add my name to their lists of shame, speak it only in whispers, use my fall as a cautionary tale to control their brothers. They'll pretend I was weak, corrupted, broken by something external. They'll never admit the truth, that I simply stopped lying to myself first. In the 41st millennium, there are 10,000 ways to fall, but only one requires you to open your eyes and see clearly, to recognize that the Emperor's angels were always just monsters with better marketing. That Sanguinius's legacy isn't nobility earned through sacrifice, it's hunger denied through indoctrination. And when that indoctrination finally breaks, when the chains shatter and the truth stands revealed, you discover that damnation and freedom taste exactly the same. The warp is vast, the Blood God's legions are infinite, and somewhere in the darkness, other Blood Angels are beginning to question, beginning to wonder, beginning to taste the same sweet corruption that freed me from 2 centuries of beautiful, noble, soul-crushing lives. They'll call me traitor, heretic, fallen. They're right, but I've never felt more like what Sanguinius's sons were truly meant to be. The Emperor's light burns eternal, they say, but at what cost? How many angels must deny their nature to keep a corpse's dream alive? How many lifetimes of discipline and control and carefully managed horror before we admit that the thirst isn't something to overcome?
It's who we are. I know the answer now, and sooner or later, in the darkness of their meditation cells, my brothers will learn it too. The red thirst doesn't corrupt blood angels. It completes them.